Well, just concluded episode 8 and contemplated whether making this video after watching 9, but I guess I'll continue the trend of doing a little recap review every episode instead of the last one being for 2. Also, it's interesting being that the final episode is called the series finale and not the season finale. Kevin Feige is talking about all these series being kind of one-offs, but being open to continuing, but only planning for one. So it's cool. Um, I think this is actually one of the best stories or best things that the MCU has produced. Um, so uh, the MCU proper or main thing are all the movies. I think there's 23 or 24 of them. But then there's the TV series like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Inhumans. Those aren't really. Now they reference the MCU movies, but the MCU movies do not regard them as canon or look at them as canon. Then there's the Netflix series, which similar to the TV series reference the MCU not as heavily, and very it's just more like Easter eggs. And like the TV series, the MCU does not really refer to the Netflix series. Um, so if anything, I disregard the TV because I think it's pretty corny and trash. But anyways, the Netflix series are noteworthy, pretty good. I mean, with the crowning jewel definitely being the Daredevil, which kicked it off and is their best quality series. And I would say WandaVision is on par with Daredevil easily. Um, easily and probably better than it. It's trimmed the fat and probably has higher resources. But, anyways, so episode 8 has been very interesting. Is good. So, spiritual landmines aside, because, like I said, Agatha is a witch, and they kind of got into it, like her history a little bit, showed a brief glimpse into her history, and so this is kind of the most spiritistic or demonic episode period so far. Um, so that's a warning to those that would be weary. Like if you're averse or cautious to things that involve witches, magic, or anything like that, the antagonist of episode 8 is a full blown witch. Um, and as I said, it is interesting to see how she interacted with Wanda, who is evidently um, a witch. So, getting into like the canon, there have been no mutants up until this point in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and uh, we were led to, well, originally, her and her brother Pietro gained their powers in the lab. So there's been a bit of a retcon where evidently Agatha has detected that she actually was a witch with just untrained and very weak powers, and her powers would have died or faded eventually. But being exposed to the Infinity Stone or being in close proximity actually boosted her powers. So obviously they didn't fade. Um, so the MCU introducing these other beings into the universe definitely expand the world and show that there's a bigger world out there. So on Earth, not talking about the aliens. So there's beings that actually have powers before Captain America, who was given powers in the lab, because it turns out Agatha is more than 300 years old. Um, so that's interesting. They're going to be introducing Blade in the future. That's interesting. So I'm happy that they're finally building up the world so that like I said, up until now, there hasn't been very many super people in the MCU. There's a lot of characters, but not many of them have powers, and um, basically they're all connected. So it's a very small world and small franchise, which kind of blows my mind since people think it's so grandiose, and it's really not. It's like all connected to Shield, um, or Stark, basically. Um, so as I had mentioned, that Sword did have ulterior motives in having Vision's body. They wanted to build their own uh, weapon because he's the most sophisticated sentient weapon. So um, they wanted to recreate it and were unable to power it until getting some exposure to Wanda's energy signature that uh, is like resides on anything that she used her powers on. What else? What else? What else? Mm. I have some other thoughts, but I can't access them right now. Wanda's in my head. Just kidding. Yeah, it's very cool that it's a one-off. I like how it's adding to the connective tissue of the MCU, and oh, the intro, like I'm actually looking for it. So every time it's I actually am excited. It made me excited about the MCU again, and it restored my love because I lost love very early on. When the Marvel Cinematic Universe started with Iron Man, it started with a bang. It was awesome. Then Iron Man 2, which people dislike, I really thought was awesome too. But then shortly after, with Incredible Hulk, which sucked, or it's okay, I guess. Um, I never saw Thor because at the time I was avoiding things that had to do with magic or mythology or things like that. Captain America stunk, and the Avengers really was awesome to me too. Knocked my socks off. But so the MCU early on was held up by Robert Downey Jr. easily, but also I lost interest in it very early on also. And I've seen everything, but I didn't like how they didn't take the source material seriously. They made jokes at the character's expense, etc., etc., and the fans are insufferable, really, um, because they don't know the lore and they act like this is the pinnacle of entertainment. So I had my problems with it, but this has renewed my love for my interest. It's like all water under the bridge, baby. I am very much looking forward to the future. Anyway, so this video is going to take a long time to load. It's already 8 minutes, so um, yeah. And this is very good reference material for versus matches in the future. It's very good, um, very good. Dude, I can't think of the words. Whenever I'm on camera, my mind goes blank. Oh, it's very good scaling, so we could see how powerful people are. Like how powerful her telekinesis is, how powerful her telepathy is, how the magic works, how the science works, um, things like that. Very good information, a source. And I will revisit it probably. All right, see you at this after the season finale.